Before we leave you, we have a quick iCal update for everyone at home. On Saturday, September 7th, you can join me and the MSNBC fam in MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. That's our top-notch fan event that's happening right here in Brooklyn, USA. Well, across the river here. There's going to be some riveting conversations about the most pressing issues of our time, and there will be a sit-down dinner where you can get the inside scoop on this critical moment in our democracy, and you can see whether Chris Hayes prefers chicken or fish for dinner. So just scan the QR code on your screen to buy your tickets today. They are selling like hotcakes. Now it's time for the last word with my buddy Jonathan Capehart, who is in for Lawrence. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening, Alex. You'll be in Brooklyn. I'm here in Aspen, where it's lovely.
I think you pulled the longer straw on that one, Jonathan.
All right, Alex, thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a good show.
In 47 hours, the earliest presidential debate in modern U.S. history will be underway. And that debate will mark the first time the sitting president and a former president have ever debated. Now, of course, President Biden and Donald Trump have debated before, but this time, one of the two candidates on that stage is now a convicted felon. In fact, the two candidates will debate 2 weeks before Donald Trump is set to be sentenced on July 11th. Today, the Biden-Harris campaign released this ad.
Donald Trump loves to attack Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
Because he's focused on revenge, and he has no plan to help the middle class. He'd just give more tax cuts to the wealthy. Joe Biden is working every day to make your life more affordable. He capped the cost of insulin, lowered healthcare costs, and made big corporations pay their fair share. Here's the difference. Donald Trump is only out for himself. Joe Biden is fighting for your family.
Donald Trump isn't just focused on revenge. He's focused on spreading baseless lies that President Biden will be under the influence of some kind of magical debate-enhancing drug. And spreading those lies seem to be the official and only Trump debate strategy.
My strategy is very simple. Make America great again, that's all.
What do you expect?
Because our country's going to hell. And we're going to turn it around fast. There's no strategy. We're going to turn it around fast.
Donald Trump was in Philadelphia this weekend, where he told NBC News that he knows who his running mate is, and that running mate could be at Thursday's debate.
Have you decided who your vice president is?
In my mind, yeah.
Do they know?
No, nobody knows.
Nobody knows. But NBC News reported last week that Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Florida Senator Marco Rubio were among his top finalists for vice president. Here's what each of them had to say about the man they believe should run this country again.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Would you ever do business with Donald Trump?
I don't think so.
Why?
I just think that it's important that you're judged by the company you keep.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
So while Donald Trump continues to use the campaign trail to spread lies, and let's not forget about the rants about sharks, the fact that he forgot the name of his doctor, or his love of the fictional serial killer Hannibal Lecter, the Biden-Harris campaign is highlighting the very real stakes of this election. Yesterday marks 2 years since Trump-appointed justices eliminated the constitutional right to abortion.
Here's the thing. Donald Trump says he is proudly responsible for what he's done. Proudly responsible? That our daughter has fewer rights than my mother-in-law? Proudly responsible? Doctors can be imprisoned? Proudly responsible? That access to in vitro fertilization is now at risk? Access to contraception is now at risk?
That was Vice President Harris in Battleground, Arizona yesterday, reminding everyone that Donald Trump and his Republican allies won't stop at abortion rights. And more than 1,600 miles away, Senator Elizabeth Warren was in Battleground, Wisconsin, to rally on behalf of the Biden-Harris campaign.
I'm fighting for our sisters, for our cousins, for the women we went to school with, for our neighbors, I'm fighting for the 10-year-old girl who was raped. I'm fighting for the 46-year-old woman whose only chance to be a mom is going to be IVF. I'm fighting for the person who very much wanted this pregnancy and things went wrong. They went haywire, they went sideways. I am fighting for everyone who may be in a position of having to make a medical decision and believes that that medical decision should be between the patient and the doctor and not a politician in Washington. Donald Trump is despicable in so many ways. But one way that is particularly despicable is the way he talks out of both sides of his mouth about abortion. He says, when he thinks most of America's listening, oh, let's leave it up to the states, I don't want to do this, let's figure out what it'll be, blah, 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 blah. But when he's in front of the people who are the extremists, who are driving across this country, driving to make the healthcare decisions based on their ideology, driving to be the ones who decide who gets to make what decisions in an examining room, in an operating room. When it's there, he brags. Well, I say, Donald Trump wants to brag about this one. Let's help him. Let's make it clear to everybody in this country, the reason we lost Roe versus Wade is Donald Trump.
Joining us now, Michael Tyler, Communications Director for the Biden-Harris re-election campaign. Michael, welcome back to The Last Word. Good to see you again. Your interpretation of Donald Trump's pre-debate media tour of complaints and excuses.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jonathan. Listen, I think this is what we've come to expect from Donald Trump when it comes to debates, right? This is a guy who has a history of complaining about debates, skipping out on debates, trying to use them as spectacle for his advantage. I think the problem for Donald Trump, though, is when he takes the stage, the American people are going to see the fundamental choice in this election. They're going to see on one side of the stage President Biden, who's fighting relentlessly for the American people to bring people together to get things done. And on the other side, they're going to see Donald Trump, who's waging a campaign of grievance, who's only in it for himself and is making it clear every single day on the stump, as Senator Warren pointed out, just how extreme he would be in a second term. So that's the choice that the American people are going to be confronted with when they tune in on Thursday night, regardless of what Trump tries to do on the front end here.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of on the front end, ahead of the debate, the Trump campaign is holding a Black American business leaders barbershop roundtable. Now, Donald Trump says he's making inroads with black voters, and polls do show Trump ahead in Georgia. But I seem to recall when I traveled with you and the president down to Atlanta just after the State of the Union address back on March 9th, we went to a black-owned business. So I'm just wondering, how does the Biden-Harris campaign see Georgia?
Yeah, well, we see Georgia as incredibly competitive. The president obviously won the state of Georgia in 2020, and we expect to do so again. It's going to be incredibly close and competitive, but we know that we have the right candidate and the right team in place to get the votes and win the state of Georgia again. I think if you want to talk about black voters and black business, for example, I'm not quite sure why Donald Trump wants to talk about black business, because we know by the end of his term, black businesses were shuttered because of the way that he fumbled the COVID response. He was telling us to inject bleach instead of doing his job. And the result was black people left disproportionately dead and black businesses disproportionately shuttered. I think the only things that actually went up by the end of Donald Trump's first term for black America were the unemployment rate and the uninsured rate. So we're happy to wage this campaign on that front. If you put that up against the president's historic record of accomplishment for black America, record low black unemployment in the first term, black wealth growing by 60% since before the pandemic, the fastest rate of black small business growth in a generation, historic investments into HBCUs to the tune of $16 billion. That is a choice that's going to be easy for black America to make in this election. And we're confident that if we continue to communicate that contrast of visions, that contrast of values, that we're going to win this election, both in Georgia and across the country, of course.
Michael, let's look at another key state. In a recent interview, Jen O'Malley Dillon, chair of the Biden-Harris reelection campaign, said, quote, "What's happening in North Carolina, the extreme laws that are moving through the state legislature, a restrictive abortion law that's worse than most other places in the country, a beyond extreme candidate running for governor in Mark Robinson. If you put all those pieces together, we really see that the state is in play." So, Michael, North Carolina will begin to mail absentee ballots starting on September 6th. So this might be the only debate North Carolina voters see. What will it take to flip North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina is absolutely in play. I think if you want to look at any indicator of that, look exactly where the president is going after he leaves Atlanta. We're going directly to Raleigh, North Carolina, to organize and rally our growing grassroots army in the Tar Heel state. We know that given everything that you just described, the demographic makeup, the extremism that's been on display in the state legislature there, obviously the extreme MAGA candidate that they have in the state of North Carolina, in many ways it's a microcosm of what we're looking at across the country here. And so we know that if we relentlessly engage in the state of North Carolina, that we're going to be able to come out on top. That's true in Georgia. It's true in North Carolina. It's, of course, true in the blue wall states as well. We know that we have the resources, the candidate, the message, the vision, and the values to win across the country here. And that's the type of campaign that we are building. We've got 300 field offices open across the country. We have over 1,000 staff now on the ground across all the battleground states. And so that's true in North Carolina. It's true in Georgia. And I think it stands in stark contrast to the lack of an operation that the Trump team has at this stage of race. We know in an incredibly polarized and divided electorate where you have two candidates that are both widely well known, the operations that you have in place matter that much more. And there's only one campaign at this stage of the race that is actually doing the work to reach the voters that are deciding the election. Every dollar that people chip in when they go to joebiden.com is fueling that grassroots army that we are building in the battlegrounds across the country. So we're foot on the gas coming off of the debate in Atlanta. We'll be on to North Carolina and across the battleground states from here.
Well, you mentioned earlier blue wall states, so let's talk about one of them. I want you to listen to what a Pennsylvania voter told NBC News today.
I'm looking to see that Joe Biden does the, accentuates what he's already done, and to really say this is my plan to improve that.
So what will Joe Biden, President Biden, say about his plan to build upon his record in the next 4 years?
Yeah, listen, I think you'll hear a lot of that on